have, um, we're starting Philippians, not here. I'm literally falling apart here. So this morning in church, we're starting Philippians, which is going to be a study through the whole book. We're going to take 11 weeks to kind of take our time going through the book, which for a 4-chapter book is pretty extensive. Brother Don Tremont will be here in the middle of all that, so we'll actually end up going 12 weeks. I don't know, did I announce last week that he was not coming? Okay. Does anybody actually have Donna Martinkus' phone number? Those of you who've been here a while, do you? I don't. She was. That's not gonna help us here. Okay. Can I task you to call her, like now? Okay. Okay. Never mind. Won't matter because if we don't do it in the next couple minutes, it won't matter. Donna, it's somebody who used to go here, who likes Bob Don Tremont and was planning on coming back to hear him today. No. Yes, she is, but her phone number isn't. Not really, but because she's coming for Bob and she's going to get Doug. Maybe that could be. So anyway, Bob, pray for Bob Don Tremont. I think everybody knows him. Most of you know him anyway. I don't know how old he is. A couple years ago, he copped to being in his mid 80s. So he's late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in there. Yeah, he's awesome. He's just he's that grandfatherly figure. He knows more about hymnody than anybody I know. Hymnody being the study of hymns, or I guess that's hymnology would be the study. Hymnody is just the awareness of hymns. He's an organist. He plays the organ. And he used to play here every year when he came in. I think he might have lost that step, and so he hasn't in the last couple years. But yeah, he just amazing man of God. He's been doing this forever and a half. But he logged about 1,300 miles 2 weeks ago, and he's had some health complications. His doctor said you really need to take a few weeks off. And so he's taken a few weeks off, but that means he won't be here today as scheduled. But we rescheduled for June the 22nd. So keep Bob in prayer. At his age, health complications are never good. Any health complications is bad. So just keep him in prayer, and we will keep you posted as I learn more. As we start Philippians this morning, I did put together a little study guide, message notebook, I don't know, whatever. Since we're going to be there a long time, kind of put out a thing so you can kind of take notes as you go. That's being run at the moment, so hopefully we have them. We're only going to run off, I think we're starting like 25. So I don't want to discourage kids from taking notes. You know, if kids want to take notes, I think you should. You know, teenagers, absolutely. My kids even, your kids even, as long as they're actually taking notes. If they're just using it as scrap paper to write notes on, I'd rather they use non-printed paper. It's cheaper. So if you see kids reaching for them, hopefully we won't run out. But so that's there. Anyway, Genesis 24 is where we're going to be this morning. I really need a little coffee stand up here. Cup holder. You know they make cup holders for mic stands? Yes. Yeah. That you just set it right here. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I think they're usually designed to hold bottles of water. Yeah, I need the cup. Yeah, a tray would probably be more helpful than a bottle holder because I usually have my Starbucks mug. Yeah, and Kenny, to your point, yeah, I sent my daughter home to get my Starbucks cup, and you see what I'm drinking out of. I have this chrome insulated Starbucks, yeah, like that. I have that exact thing at home, and I forgot to bring it with me. Larry, can you go get that? Well, why do I have to go get it? Never mind. I'll pick that up on my way through. What's that? It is, and you know, yeah, Lord willing. Speaking of marriage, no, women, not men. Men, we just never know what to do. We just ignorant by. Right, exactly. Can you do that? No. Why do you think I married you? Yeah. Anyway, I didn't marry you. Oh, Smurf, you're right. Now you're settled. Are we okay with it, Chris? All right. Well, maybe. No, Chris is like, I ain't going nowhere, man. Yeah. So maybe it's a good thing that we don't have a mic. If you've joined us online and you're hearing moments of silence followed by outbursts of laughter, you just got to be here. That's all. All right. So Genesis 24, speaking of marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today. For those of you who don't know, you must go home and watch The Princess Bride. It is that funny. It is that good. It is iconic, classic. That's not particularly spiritual, but anyway. What? Yeah, because like Mr. Marshall hadn't seen The Princess Bride up until what, 2-3 years ago? Like he's from England. I'm like, dude, how did you not? Like, how did you not watch this movie? I mean, it's iconic. We in college we watched it like every month. It's just that.
Sorry, did you say in college you watched it every month?
Yeah. It was just. But the pack I ran with was a little. We were the geeks and nerds. You know, the way we blew off steam at the end of a semester was most of us worked second shift. A lot of us worked security. And so we'd get home from work the last day after finals were all done. Like, we should be sleeping because most of us didn't sleep much that week anyway, because we also procrastinated as a rule. And so, you know, we get done finals, we get done work, we come home from work, we should go to sleep. Instead, we brew coffee, grab Pepsi, and we start a game of Risk. That typically ran until about 9 o'clock the next morning. So, yeah, it's like I played with my kids last week, and it took us 4 hours, just over 4 hours to finish. But, you know, yes. No, it was really 4 hours. We really played right through, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I beat him one at a time. I took Joshua out first because if I let him get too much wind under his wings, he'll beat me. But yeah, in college, yeah, we were, you know, all geeks, and so, yeah, our games typically ran 9-10 hours. So, you know, somewhere about 10 o'clock in the morning, we'd go crash for a day and a half or something. Yeah, it was crazy. So, yeah, and then the Princess Bride and Star Trek conventions and, yeah, the whole thing. I've been to one, I'll admit. Anyway, I don't know what this has to do with the book of Genesis, so why don't we get over there since I'm marriage. Yeah, I think this might be more edifying than my sordid past. So now in Genesis 24, Isaac finally gets married. And so we're moving through, and I say finally because for him it was probably finally. He was, I want to say roughly 40. We'll get a time marker. Anybody remember how old Sarah was when she died? Oh, you're close. 127. So how old was Sarah when Isaac was born? 90. Okay. So how old was Isaac when Sarah died? 37. Right, 37. So these are how you get into, you know, how do you know these ages? You take the facts that you do know and you kind of dance around until you get to the fact you don't know but want to know. Sometimes you can do that and sometimes you can't. We're not told how old Isaac was, but we have enough time markers to figure out where we are in his life. So he's 37 and single, so it's time to get with it. You know, I mean, he's been bachelor for a long time. It's time to go. So Genesis 24, now Abraham was old, well advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. So let's stop a second. How old's Abraham? He's old and well advanced too. So he's like old. I mean, older than dirt. That's exactly what this just said. He was 10 years older, 137, right. Now, the funny thing is he's old, well advanced in years, and he's got 50 of them left. So tells you where he is. Because we're going to see him get married again and start having more kids soon. So he was old, well advanced in years, but not that bad. Anyway, verse 2.
So Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house, who ruled
Okay, now we'll stop right there because you see this. Most of you are going, ew, right? Can we get a collective ew going? Okay. Because what we just read was, hey, grab my butt. Right? This is what you're envisioning. Okay. So I don't have one of my kids, otherwise I would act this out for you in earnest. But I am not calling on any of you guys. You are all to stay right where you are. So here's the. Yeah. So the way this would work is a servant would come up, and this is best we know. There's no photographs running around, but a servant would come up and would come to his master and kneel. And so from this position, this is not a big deal. It is a sign of obeisance, absolute trust on the part of the servant. Bearing in mind, it's a Middle Eastern culture where a lot of things that we're uncomfortable with flew. I told you about my experiences in a Russian Baptist church, right? The dudes were all running around kissing each other. Yeah. Okay, understand, our cultural norms are not normal everywhere. So a servant would kneel, actually would do it this way. The servant would kneel, would reach out and just grab literally the back of his master's leg. So this is from the point of the servant, this is a sign of obeisance. This is a sign of, I am yours. Your proximity is awkward in any culture. And so that's the sign. From the master's perspective, who is standing there having his leg grabbed in this manner, this is a sign of absolute trust. He is inside your guard. If he decides to kill you, there is nothing you can do about it. Right. Exactly. It's an absolute trust. But this is an absolutely as intimate a position as a master and a servant can get into. It's an absolute trust. He's inside my guard. There's nothing I could do to stop him. Intimacy not being necessarily physicality and sexuality, just intimacy. And so, this is the position. So it's awkward to us to read because it sounds like, hey, grab my butt. But it really is, hey, come to me, this trusted servant. This is Eliezer. This is the guy that he wanted to make the head of his household. This is the guy he was going to make his heir. Remember? He prayed, cannot Eliezer be my heir? For one born in my household can be my heir. This is the guy, the head of his household. This is the guy who, in Abraham's mind, was as much a son as a servant. And so you have this really vulnerable position here of trust, saying, hey, I want you to take an oath. I want you to make a promise. And I want you to make this promise in the context of a relationship that allows us to be in this proximity, in this position, where we trust each other so unreservedly that we could stand here like this. And so this is what he is asking Eliezer here to do. So understand, there's a lot more to it than, hey, grab my butt. Okay, and so he instructs him. What's interesting here is Abraham is old enough that he doesn't know when the end is, but he can see the finish line. He says, don't take a wife for my son from among the women of Canaan. As the head of the household, as the chief steward, it fell in Abraham through it. It fell to Eliezer to actually select Isaac's wife. I mean, this is really a scenario where Abraham is placing tremendous trust in Eliezer to do this task. I mean, taking a wife for his son is no small thing. And so he says, take a wife, but not from the women here. Go back to Haran. Go back to my father's household and take a wife from there. And so this is a big challenge that he's throwing out here. Okay, fair question. Okay, the right woman in my mind won't come here. Should I take Isaac there? Of course, Abraham's like, not the right woman. And that's pretty much what he says in verse 6. Verse 7. Okay, so here's the conditions. Isaac is the son of promise. Isaac is the inheritor of this land. He must not leave. That's what Abraham said. God gave me this land. It's been promised to Isaac. He can't leave. He can't go back to Haran. That's going backwards, familially, from where God called them. He said he needs to stay here. She needs to come here. Make it so. If he were, Abraham Picard. So this is the promise. So, and he specifies in there, God's going to pave the way for you. The angel of the Lord is going to go before you. He's going to make it straight. God is going to guide you to the right person who, by definition of being the right person, will have no problem coming here. And so you have the confines. And so this is where it gets fun now. Verse 10, then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed, for all his master's goods were in his hand. He arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. So Abraham just told him what to do. He didn't tell him how to do it. Eliezer had access to everything. I think it was General Patton who said, tell your people what to do, not how to do it. Their ingenuity will surprise you, which I thought was a great quote. And so, off runs Eliezer. All right. Now let's think about, what did Abraham just pray? Or what did Eliezer rather just pray? He prayed a staggering amount of work onto somebody. Okay, how much water can a camel drink? Camels don't drink often. They do store water. That's why they're desert creatures. They drink it when they get it. Do you think they drink a little bit or a lot? Okay. Would the number like 70 gallons surprise you? Okay. That's about where a camel, if I remember, you can Google that. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I think it's along the order of 70 gallons that a camel can drink and hold at one. So they drink that much at one time. How many camels did Eliezer have? How many gallons is that? How much does a pound of water weigh? 8 pounds. Oh, sorry. How much does a gallon of water weigh? A gallon of water weighs about 8 pounds. Okay, so he just prayed that some woman would haul up almost 3 tons of water. Now, the custom for her to come out and offer him a drink, not a big deal. This is Middle Eastern, hospitality. You're thirsty, obviously. You've got nothing to draw from. Let me get you some water. Let me water your camels. Kind of a big deal. This is like, God, make it so plain that I would see it if I was blind. This is what he just prayed. But he just prayed an awful lot of work upon some woman. So verse 15. when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking. Let me go do a bunch of work for you. What's interesting to note is he was still praying this, and along comes this chick who just like walks right into this prayer request. You got a clarification?
It says
26 to 40 gallons. Okay. So a ton of water, whatever. Still a lot of work, right? I mean, any of you going to volunteer to go move a ton of water, literally? Or yeah, right. And it's not like just move it. You've got to walk down into this grotto, let down your thing into the well, pull it back up, run back upstairs, splash, repeat. Because you can only carry so much at any given time. I'm thinking that the reason that she was beautiful was because she was obviously very physically fit. Because this is no small task that she has volunteered for. Not that fitness and beauty go together. I get that. Please don't call me like weird names. But all right.
quickly emptied her pitcher into the trough, ran back to the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels.
And the man, wondering at her, remained silent so as to know whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not.
Okay. I wonder if this is the one.
Didn't you just ask for that? Like, duh.
Right. But this is right. See the comedy in this. The guy is like, he's just given this like a wicked extraordinary prayer request. God immediately, like before he gets done praying it, starts the answer rolling. This answer is going to take a few minutes. And so he's just there like, wow, this is amazing. I wonder if she's the one. I don't know about the third lap. Wouldn't you stop wondering? I'm just thinking. Because he didn't say that you would, the prayer request was not that she would give water to the camels until they stopped drinking. Just, right. That was her volunteer. Just, that she volunteers to water the animals as well. Okay. About the first time she splashed water in the trough, she's pretty well answered the request. She's pretty well fulfilled it, but, I get not in its entirety, but, about third or fourth lap, obviously you know where this is going. Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Sitting here with a cold beverage while she does all the hard work. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm getting thirsty watching you work. Have a sit. Yeah. Right. We would all be. Anyway. Verse 22. All right, so what was the one piece of the puzzle that he was missing that he just got?
She's the one.
Huh? Right, she's the one. She'd fulfilled the request that he had made, but what he didn't know was who this chick was. Abraham was specific, go back to my father's house. The wife is to come from my father's household. And so once she says who her father and brother is, he goes, I'm at the right address. Because that was the requirement, that she had to be of Abraham's household. And as soon as she said, I'm Nahor's granddaughter, okay, I'm in the right place. And so the story will play out, and we don't have time to keep going. I would encourage you to keep reading. It's pretty interesting stuff. But the story plays out. They go back to her dad's house. He poses his mission and gets permission to take her back to the land of Canaan. And the story keeps going and going and going. And there's a little bit of repetition in here as he sums up. But we've got to get all the way down to verse 66. Ain't happening. So, yep. Nose ring. Yeah. It's the word could go either way, and so it's a translator's preference to go. Yeah, it's a ring that attaches. Yeah. Culturally, it could have gone either way. Translationally, it could have gone either way. It comes down to, translators' discretion based on their understanding of culture. So you get the OKJV that translated earring, the NKJV translates it nose ring. I think most of the more modern translations would go nose ring. That's based upon our, 300 years later, our understanding of their culture and what it probably was. But Chris, you have a question brewing? No? Okay. He's just gonna let it go. Right, you can put it where you want it. Right, and today, we kind of do. But at the end of the story, and the way this plays out is, she goes back, goes to Isaac's house, and we get down to verse. I'll pick up 66 and 67. We'll just close it out here. The servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. So the servant Eliezer goes back, talks to Isaac, lets him know the full account of what happens. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. And so Isaac moves into his mother's tent and takes her to be his wife. No real ceremony, just wife. And so understand that, the ceremonies and things that we call marriage, most of those are culturally driven. And in this case, there was no real ceremony. It was just wife.
So Isaac and Rebekah are related.
Yeah, they would be like second or third cousins. I'd have to branch out the lineage, but yeah, they are. Not uncommon. Actually, in the state of Massachusetts, it's still legal to marry your cousin. So even in the 21st century, it's not unheard of as a possibility. Not encouraged, but it is not illegal. Whether or not it should be, and we laugh at the people in the South for making it so. It's just as legal here. But yeah, in ancient times, it was actually very common and not even genetically a bad thing. At that point, it was just a matter of staying within his own cultural group that it would do.
And it's odd because in 25 one, it's Abraham at 137 years old, got married and had 6 more kids.
Yes, so next week we get to learn. So Isaac gets married, and next week Abraham gets remarried. And yeah, give or take, yeah.
But at 145, he was still able to have kids. I mean,
No, his wife had died. Sarah had died, and the Bible from start to finish allows for remarriage if your spouse has died. Yeah, and yeah, sin really is the answer. But yeah, you'll note through the chronologies of Genesis as you go through that, we started off living close to a millennium, and then the ages factor down. You hit the flood, there's a marked decrease. You hit a couple generations later, you get Peleg, and the earth is divided, and there's another marked decrease. And so we're really not getting it very long.
went down to 30 or 40 years old, didn't it? One time.
Well.
Kind of coming back up.
Right, yeah, we are. We've got lifespan right now, barring some great new thing. We've got lifespans as long as we can make them. The body just flat gives out at some point. The reality is there's no reason for us to die. The way our cells regenerate, physiologically, yes, the body wears out, but the way it replenishes itself, it really shouldn't. It's kind of the conundrum of medical science. And what we can see is, if environment and circumstances were different, we would live longer just because of the restorative properties of our own body. And people used to. So, but yeah, sin, the genetic code dying. What's that? Yeah, what can give you cancer? Pretty much everything. And nothing. So, anyway, let's close, and we need to jump. Father, we love you. We thank you for your word. Lord, help us to see the applications, the importance of choosing godly people, godly spouses, the importance of following you and sticking to your plan. Lord, as we move into the next hour, we ask that you would meet with us, that you would receive and empower our worship, and then help us to receive your word. We pray in Jesus' good name.